NPC behavior, NPC AI changes, loading screens, model toolset changes. Valve is working diligently to get the next Half-Life game out the door. Every major content drop that occurs in Dota 2, Deadlock, or Counter-Strike 2 will result in some new hints for the next Half-Life game. Yes, it's obvious that some of the employee time has been spent on getting Deadlock more polished or trying to finish up the Dota 2 updates that they promised for this year, or even trying to get Counter-Strike 2 into a state that justifies its existence. But we're still here. Half-Life X, HLX, or Half-Life 3 as we've all been calling it, is absolutely still in production. And let's talk about some of the more interesting things that I found, and stick around to the end for something you absolutely did not expect. Do you remember last time that we talked about Half-Life 3? I talked about the ability for basic systems to be simulated in a much more detailed way than ever before seen, such as the burning point and melting point of different surface types. Well, the burning point of certain fuels is being referenced all over the place. Shared environments. You know that space behind you when you transition into a new level and you still see parts of the previous level behind you? Well, that's a trick. They're just copy-pasting different areas of the map to make it seem like it's seamless. Shared environments is a pseudo level streaming trick where instead of copy pasting that geometry and loading it twice, it's loaded once and the rest of the level is streamed. The hopping distance? The hopping distance. The hopping distance? Model Doc now allows for specific entities to change their hopping distance, likely related to some kind of alien fauna or maybe a creature in Deadlock, but hopping distance. Also turning speeds, turning distances, but hopping distance? And then AI. And no, not fake ass LLM AI. We're talking about traditional video game NPC artificial intelligence design. A lot of stuff is being worked on. For example, a few systems taken directly from Half-Life 2 are being amended instead of rewritten. Sound types that NPCs can react to are copied wholesale from Half-Life 2. However, they are being added to. So we have things like warning friends and food sound type. I would expect that to be more like creature AI, but you never know. Standoff behavior for NPCs, meaning the radius around which an NPC will go into a standoff state with another NPC based on entity relationship types, meaning a certain type of entity will have different relationships for other types of NPCs. So headcrabs and zombies, bull squids and hound eyes, humans in the Combine. They'll have standoff radii that change based on the NPC types that are literally surrounding them. An entirely new entity was found within the latest Dota 2 update called Point Orient, which allows for predetermined NPC orientation to be changed by map logic, allowing for far more realistic turning. This might have something to do with hopping distances. The hopping distance. Fog color changes, fog and wind speed simulation, vehicle wheel constraint simulations, static props being overwritten dynamically within the map logic. Oh, and hey, what's this? A shotgun sound was added into the core of Source 2. This sounds like something similar to the shotgun found in Half-Life Alyx, but Valve adding it into the core of the engine means that gun testing is being done at a very low level. That sound was found in Dota 2 of all things. I wonder what they're doing with that gun sound. Is there anything that we can possibly reference back to? Oh my god. Right, so I'm surprised that this hasn't been mainstream already. In the latest Dota 2 update, the one that brought the bird, somebody screwed up and shipped the symbols of Artie. Okay, this is gonna take some explaining. Artie was a canceled game that Valve was developing after the cancellation of Left 4 Dead 3 in that weird in-between while they waited for Source 2 to actually be feature complete enough to develop full games on it. Artie was an entirely voxel-based engine that allowed for incredible player destruction and was kind of akin to a basic immersive sim with enormous procedural destruction potential. It had a lot of different systems that until now we have not understood in the slightest. The only real evidence of the game that we've ever seen was from the final hours of Half-Life Alyx, and even then, it was more just like story treatments and some screenshots and some general descriptions from developers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21 H files, not PDBs, H files, meaning build files, meaning this is as close as you can get to source code without it actually being source code for Artie. Interestingly, in the code, it is spelled A-R-T-Y and not A-R-T-I. Why are they adding this stuff in? We have speculated quite a bit in the past that Half-Life 3 would allow for some voxel-based player destruction. There was a lot of voxel work put into Source 2 that we, as a community, speculated had something to do with Neon Prime. It didn't. It had to do with HL3. HLX. HLX is Half-Life 3. Half-Life 3 is going to have voxel-based destruction in some form. Why not take the things that they had already worked on in the past and port it over instead of rewriting it wholesale? But the interesting thing about that is instead of just the voxel destruction stuff, NPC spawners, gun logic, game mode info, multiplayer logic, but it's all in here from that old game, ported into the modern Source 2 engine. And this kind of stuff should not have been published. H-files, meaning we're able to see the class names, the function names, the variable names, effectively extrapolate exactly what the game was supposed to be. But as far as we're concerned with Half-Life 3 and HLX, some of these systems are obviously being ported over. Somebody forgot to take it out of the shipping folder, and now we have these files. What's interesting is a lot of the systems that we had been speculating as entirely novel for Half-Life 3 appear to have started with ARTI. So things like vehicle simulation, buoyancy simulation, fluid simulation, and destructibility within voxels all seems to have originally come from what we now understand ARTI to have been, some kind of physics simulation sandbox immersive sim game. And so some of that stuff is being ported over into Half-Life 3, and we have a lot of it to go through. Somebody screwed up, and now we have the most information on this very unknown canceled Valve game, and it is apparent that major facets of this canceled Valve game are being slipped into their next major project, HLX, or as we know, Half-Life 3. Pee and poop. Physics simulations within weapons, by the way. I don't know, there's just some really crazy stuff going on for Half-Life 3. It's obvious that Valve wants to be able to push the envelope in the same way that Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2 did in their day. So instead of pushing graphical fidelity like everybody else, it seems like Valve is pushing for physical fidelity. Is that the way I should say it? Physical fidelity? They're simulating a lot of different systems independently of one another to allow for those to interact as if they're developing some next-generation immersive sim. I don't think Half-Life 3 is an immersive sim at its core, but I think it will have more ImSim elements than seen prior. We do know that that quest NPC system and procedural generation and certain side level designs is very much happening. And although some people misunderstood those factors to then guess that it was an open world game, not the case. It's open linear, more akin to Uncharted 4, and not at all like Fallout. This is absolutely a very different experience than just Half-Life 2, but better graphics and more. Of course, that calls into question the, computer cost demands that are going to be necessary to run this game at a good frame rate. I mean, Valve's games always run well. Say whatever you want about the quality of the games they put out. Everything going all the way back to Half-Life 1 ran well. So who knows? Half-Life Alyx can run on a frickin' toaster nowadays, and Half-Life 2 ran on pretty much anything but a 486. So this is incredibly interesting. There's a lot to dig into, and very soon I'm going to be publishing a report on exactly what we understand about ARTI, or ARTY as it's called in this code, which is Valve's canceled voxel game from the late 2010s. That seem to be recycled into facets of Half-Life 3. This is some crazy stuff going on, and I am the most excited to be a part of the Valve community than I have been ever. I was very excited to be right about HLVR, but the caveat that it was VR only and required a huge budget to buy into did kind of sour the whole experience. This isn't that. This is something that is more than likely going to run on the Steam Deck, or maybe the Steam Deck 2. It's going to, obviously, oh my God, I can't even keep my thoughts straight. I'm so excited for this. I've been waiting around for years. I have been doing this channel since 2011. This is the most excited I have ever been for the future of Valve software, and they don't even like me. All right, so this is an ongoing conversation. This is an ongoing story. We're always talking about it in the Discord server. Invite link to that down in the description below. I will talk to you next time. I'm Tyler McVicker, a passionate gamer. I hope you're having a great life. Peace and hair grease. Adios.